Good morning and happy Thursday as we start Snowmageddon in Northwest Illinois. So there's a lawyer that I follow out of Seattle who is a lawyer that tries case after case after case, is almost constantly in trial. And she gives us, there's a series of us that are on a list of emails, and she does a daily update on her emails. And they're amazing. They're incredibly well written. I don't know how she has time to do it, given that she's in the middle of a trial. But she's been in the middle of a trial for several weeks, and it's a medical case. Medical cases are unbelievably difficult. And she let her verdict come back, or the verdict came back yesterday. So I was able to read the email this morning about, what happened in the verdict. And they essentially lost the case. And, I think we have a tendency to forget that we learn a lot more from our failures than we do from our successes. A lot of times it's like we don't want to fail. We worry about failing for a whole host of reasons. We feel like, we're going to be embarrassed, and we feel like people aren't going to like us as much. We're not going to be good enough. But the reality is people that are successful don't see failure as failure. They see it as learning. And, I said last week, if you read the book Think and Grow Rich, or if you listen to, Norman Vincent Peale or Jim Rohn, one of the things Jim Rohn used to say is, if you want to be significantly successful in your life, then you got to double your failure rate. And the point being, stop being afraid to fail. When you look at it as learning and you no longer fear that it's not going to go perfectly, now you're going to try more things, and the more things you try, the more things are going to work out, and the more distinctions that you'll make, and then you'll be that much further ahead. Again, Tom Edison, the corny example, but it's true, 10,000 experiments before he discovered the light bulb, and when he was at about 10,000, Life magazine did an article on him, and the guy saw how many experiments he'd done, and there was a lot of people that didn't believe that the light bulb was going to be invented. And Edison kept saying, I'm going to invent it, and here's why. He knew his reasons. He was incredibly driven. And the guy looked at him and he goes, when are you going to give up? And Edison goes, what do you mean? I'm that much closer to discovering the light bulb. I've discovered 9,999 ways to not invent the incandescent light bulb, so I'm way closer than anybody else. That type of attitude is why we're still talking about the guy 100 years plus after he has passed away, because he changed the world. So remember that good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from mistakes, and mistakes come from bad judgment. So the cycle of learning is to have things go a way that you didn't plan, and then from there you get a distinction, and then from there you're smarter and wiser, and you can move on to the next thing. So as you get ready for the new year and you look at, what am I going to do? What are my goals going to be? We have to look at it and decide we're not going to be afraid of failure. And we're not even going to use that term. We're not going to call it failure. We're going to call it learning. We're going to call it creating distinctions. And when you do something and it works out the way that you want it to work out, great, celebrate. That's awesome. But when you do something and it doesn't work out the way you wanted to work out, celebrate that even more. Because now you're smarter than the next person. You've made that mistake, and you can move on and be that much clearer about how to achieve the outcomes that you actually want to achieve. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you're all planned for Snowmageddon. Please be careful out there, and let's take care of each other. We're all in this together.